you all in my bedroom? This is not recording evening. Why are we here? Why have you got
It's
me out
Friday
of?
Night Fun Night.
No, we recorded a podcast a week ago. Why the fuck are we doing this again? I was having fun. I was playing Pokemon. I was in my underpants, and you all burst in here, and suddenly I got to talk bolt action. What the fuck is going
We
on?
know you were in your pants. We could see you through the window.
What is going on? Why are we doing this sub? Is it what are we calling this? A subcast? Sub episode? Emergency
rant.
broadcast?
Emergency broadcast is good, yeah.
We like emergency broadcast.
I like it, yeah.
Hello, I'm Topher of the Juggernaut Bolt Action podcast. I'm here, not as usual, with an impromptu episode. I'm here with Dan, Pete, and Sheffy. Hey guys.
Hello.
No.
Hey.
You need to put your dick away, mate.
Sorry, I didn't think you could see it.
Right, we'll get started. I'll mute myself, and I'll go get dressed, and I'll come back, and then I'll have some good points to share, well warm and toasty.
By point, do you mean the tip of your penis?
We got serious shit to cover, guys. Sheffield, you're the most sensible kind of out of all of us. What's going on?
Well, while Toph goes to freshen up, we wanted to talk about the GT tournament pack, which was released on Wednesday. And it's got a few of us talking and a few people in the various Facebook groups and things. And we just wanted to sort of talk about that as a discussion together, as what we think's good about it, what we think's bad about it, and what questions we've got that sort of immediately jump off the page at us. But before we go into all of that, we just want to say, first of all, just a big thanks to Warlord. Actually, we really appreciate it that it was out really soon. So as we're sitting here, we've got 9 months, I think, before the tournament's due. It's the end of November, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's quite a way off. And one of the big bits of feedback, sort of feedback number one from last year, was we need that information sooner, and they've just completely knocked that out the park. We're really appreciative of it. There's a but, and the but is that while they've addressed that problem, there are still some others, and they sort of fall into two categories. And I'll just briefly explain what they are now, and then we're going to bounce off, and other people are going to say some stuff. So the first thing is just that it's not necessarily clear in the places you really want a rules pack to be clear. And then the second big moan is that while it's fixed problem one, which was get it out early, it's not fixed problem two at all, which is that they wanted to make it a bit less cheesy and take away the advantages that certain armies have. So they've given us a dice cap, they've restricted it to one selector, but actually that doesn't change much. We can still create and take exactly the same horrendous cheesy lists from Stalingrad or the Finnish selector that won the GT last year. So I don't see how they can expect this rules pack to have created any different situations. It looks like it's going to be business as usual, but with even less clarity about exactly what isn't allowed. Sound fair?
Well, we've had a look at it today, haven't we? And we were discussing whether we want to do a podcast this morning, and within about 3 hours, we'd already broken the spirit of what this meant to do with 3 different armies already. And it's been 3 hours since we first started discussing it.
I mean, we've come in serious and hard here in that. Right, let's tear this pack apart. You know, the thing I want to say is on behalf of myself and you guys is that we don't go out of our way to take the biggest cheese in the world, bring a billion dice list and fuck everyone and go and ruin people's lives and, you know, destroy their fun. That is not what we're out for. We just take competitive lists. We actually are all for realistic and decent strictures. You know, it's like why we don't go to Cambridge. We know when we go to Cambridge what we can expect. The pack's pretty clear. Steve's on top of it. You know what you're going to take, and then we don't go, oh god, I can't take my fill, so I'm not going to have fun. Quite the contrary. We go, right, cool. Here's the challenge. Here's what we're going to build. Let's go do it. And I just think what they're trying to do is obviously curb our enthusiasm somewhat, which is fair enough, but they've just gone the wrong way entirely. I mean, we'll get onto this later in the specific ways about how it's just not going to help.
It's also worth adding just at this point that actually we have emailed Warlord and we have asked officially, can you clarify these points for us? So this is, at this stage, just a what if as well. It could well be that by the time we record the next podcast in March, we will have an answer to all of these questions, but we're just going with initial first impressions today, and they're not necessarily the best.
Okay, so one of my first impressions when I got this pack was it was fantastic and shit, both for the same reason. One of those reasons is splitting it off into 2 different groups is fantastic. Having the casual gamers that just want to come down, be part of a big tournament, don't really care about winning it, just want to have, you know, I think they've organised 6 games for the 2 days. Brilliant. Play the escalation, play the generic force selector that you've got, do the building up the points thing. Great. Splitting it out into the competitive side, fantastic. People sometimes don't want to play the competitive people like us at tournaments. They just want to go and have fun. We do want to compete, and we want to be against the people that want to be competing too, which is why we go to these tournaments. And the fact that we have to abide by the escalation, the fact that it's not just a standard 5-game, 2 battalions, bring out your filth, this is a GT sort of organisation for our side of the draw, it just doesn't make sense. They've tried to put all these rules in place to stop all of this happening, and it is just completely done the opposite. It just means Brits, Indians, Russians are going to have all the fun. They're going to be at all the top tables with identical lists across the board, and the rest of the people are going to fall behind. It's just not worked.
I can see what they're trying to do. Escalation is something new and different, but my main concern at the lower points values of 751 is with the British Indians, you're playing 750 against 950 effectively.
And because you're playing 3 games at 750 and only 1 at 1250, it's the most weighted in terms of actual tournament progress.
Yeah, so what happens there is one player has essentially 200 points extra and then basically 50 points off of a 1,000-point list. It's just a little much.
Shall we go back to the start then? Let's go through the pack and find out and go through each point, because we're kind of darting around a bit, and maybe it's better just to go back and read through and let's point out where we think the issues lie, just for a bit of clarity. Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got the pack in front of me, and right at the start, Grand Tournament, 23rd, 24th of November. Once again, they've put right at the top. We have an aim to improve the event, becoming the world's largest box auction tournament. Sweet, great. Big changes, splitting into 2 groups. Great competition, open play. Running as an escalation tournament though. So a lot of this has basically been cut and pasted from the LVO, which is a big tournament that's just happened over in America. I think what was the Warlord guys involved in running that over there as well.
Yeah.
So it has been Warlord from the start, because I
think so.
What's so special about the way LVO did it? Because I remember when they were talking about how that was when that pack was released, and I remember reading that going, that's weird. All right, whatever. Those crazy Americans. Why escalation? It's not me saying, oh God, I don't like escalation. It's fine, but why?
I mean, I can see why escalation, because the open play, it means it's a very varied day for it. But for the competitive play, why?
Yeah, 100% agree.
But I kind of like it. I'll be honest, I quite like the idea of doing an escalation competitive. There is a but, though, which is that I agree completely. It's not if you're playing pure competitive and you're trying to find the best player in the country, what you want is to eliminate as many different factors as possible, other than the person, the army, and the construction of their list. And putting escalation in just adds an additional factor. It weights the lower point levels higher. It weights the main list least of all of them, and it just won't necessarily produce an accurate description of who necessarily had the best list on the day.
One thing that it will do as well is, especially when you get to 1,000 and 1,250, is it will just produce the same list over and over and over again, because you're limited to one theatre selector. And at 1,250, there's only so many units and stuff you can put in to actually fill those points up without just making everything better.
Now, to be devil's advocate, some people will say, well, if you truly want to find out who's the best, maybe you should all go in with the same list.
If everyone has the same list, it comes down to who rolls the first lucky 6 of the game. If everyone takes the same sort of list and you've got both got heavy mortars, and yours hits first turn, your opponent's doesn't, and you kill a whole unit, you win the game.
Yeah, same for observers and all of the multi-launchers that seem to be part of the...
I'm being devil's advocate here, but surely that means that there's no talent involved, because you're saying it's just the dice rather than the actual person.
I'm pretty sure that's what I said to you about the
I know.
last year,
I'm
wasn't
throwing it back at you. No, you can't at your bell end.
It's part of the game. Deal with it.
I'm not. I get the argument. Everyone should take the exact same list, and then you'll find out truly who's boss. But that just sounds boring. Variety's the spice. I don't want to sit there playing a mod. I don't want to say play chess. I don't want to say play the same list 5 games in a row.
These
Well,
rules.
the point of allowing everyone to have different lists is it allows people to test their wits against different armies and different ways of playing every single game, rather than just playing the same game on rinse and repeat 6 times throughout the day, which is what it's going to end up being by the look of it.
Yeah, I think we'd all agree here that actually we find that 1,000 points, one selector is actually very limiting and tends to funnel all the lists to being the same. So we hate to think how it's going to be at 1250. So actually, because as a German player, basically your 1250 list is your 1,000 point list with a Panzer IV. That's basically what it is, and you'd be stupid not to.
So we'll come back to that when we get to the limitations. Yeah, and then they say, they're going to keep the hall open till 8 o'clock this year to get some pickup games. Sweet, and the bar's going to be open. Sweet. I hope they keep going with that.
Life is good. Bar is open.
Next part of the pack, stuff you'll need: your rulebook, your army, dice bag, blah 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 blah. Matchups: player can decide whether to enter the Grand Tournament Competition Group 1 or Open Play Group 2. Once again, stunning, perfect. That is exactly what you need to do. If you want to go to a tournament, play some games, and you don't want to absolutely get trashed by a random Juggernaut showing up, then you go into open play. If you want to go and win, have a go at winning, you go into the tournament competition group 1. And if you're in one and whinging about the other, then you're the one who's made the mistake. And I absolutely love that.
Hey, I don't know about it. I mean, as Juggernauts, we're going to try and take home all 6 trophies. We'll take 1, 2, 3 GT Comp and 1, 2, 3 GT Open. Thank you very much.
I don't think we will. I mean, what happens is at most events you see Juggernauts that are the more competitive. There are some guys in our club that are a bit more chill.
Yeah, but they're not all as bad as us. We are a microcosm. In every group you have multiple personalities. Anyway.
Plus, what usually happens is we end up facing each other around about game 4 or 5, like we did this GT, and knocking each other out of the running.
Yeah. And and it's going to be Swiss as standard. So that's normal.
Was it Swiss from first game? Sorry.
Yeah. Swiss.
Yeah, random first game, then Swiss. And then
I do like the fact that they're going to try and keep it Axis versus Allies all the time as well, where possible.
Does that mean I have to take an Allied list on purpose so I don't have to play Soviets?
Yeah.
So yeah, and as discussed, there's going to be 3 games of 750 points, 2 games of 1,000, and 1 game of 1,250. So 4 games on day 1 and 2 games on day 2 with it escalating. Which again, I don't know why we've gone escalating, but okay, it's escalating. That's fine. Right, here we go. 4 selection. Are you ready?
Oh,
this is the meat and bones of it. Players must select a force of 1,250 points, from which they must be able to select legal sub-forces of 750 points and 1,000 points.
Can we stop there? What is a legal sub-force? They've not defined that.
What is a force?
Well,
is that the same as an army?
A force is the whole lot, but a legal sub-force, what is that?
So a sub-force must be an army that you can pick from the units / models available from the original 1,250 point list.
See, there.
Where's it say it?
That's where the discrepancy starts. Units, fine. Models, fine. But the two are mutually exclusive. If I were to say pick everything from the models, fine. I've got 50 infantrymen. I'm going to pick 30 in squads of 6 for this one rather than 50 in squads of 10. But units is a massive difference to say you have to take that unit in 10s every single time. That's where it starts to get confusing already.
Or even could that unit be 6 men at 750, 8 men at 1,000, and then 10 men at 1,250?
Yeah.
It's even open to the question of selector, which is if my 1,250 points force uses X selector, does my 1,000 point force have to use the identical selector, or can it use a different one? Can I do it that way? That's open as well. It doesn't specify.
Could your 750 point list, which starts as a reinforced selector, be drawn from a 1,250 point list that's actually a tank platoon because you just took the extra tanks and transports out and suddenly it's gone down to 750?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it sounds like we're nitpicking here. Most people, obviously, on the groups have kind of gone, well, it's obvious, you just take your 750 and add 250 points, But it doesn't say that. and it's not.
It says the opposite of that.
Yeah,
It's actually the exact opposite. It says you take the 1250 and then you work backwards. So the expectation is that you create a pool of models and units and then create the others out of that. No, this is why it's stupid. It's exactly the opposite.
It literally said 750, then add 250 for 1,000, then add 250 for the other one. It would make it a lot easier to.
The one thing everyone can agree on for the second GT last year was people were complaining that people had different expectations of what the GT was. So when people turned up at the GT, people were being paired against people, and one person were going to there to win it, some people were just going to have fun, and it created confusion. This is just doing the same thing, because people are going to go, oh, I assume I can do this with building my list, or I assume I can do this with building my list. You're going to meet there on the table and go, well, fuck that guy, he's not following the same rule set I am. And when you ask people on the rule, when on the Facebook group, when people said, oh, how does this work? People just go, oh, it works like that, hands down, no query, because that's just how they've read it. Doesn't say that though, and it just needs to be clear. So yeah, going forward, army lists must be submitted before in advance of the event as standard.
That's nice. I like that.
As standard, yeah. Though it doesn't say how far in advance.
Yeah, it does. The 4th of November.
4th of November. Why does it not say it there?
Right at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at the bottom, mate.
Okay,
Submission of army list. That's right.
Fair enough.
Oh, we know how you are with numbers and dates. Don't worry.
Now we can't read.
Here we go. This is the bit where I'm going to kick in and start raging here. Armies must consist of either a single reinforced infantry platoon or a single tank platoon. Full stop.
Platoon also covers off all the theatre selectors, because they're all called platoons.
Yes,
But they are called reinforced platoons, not reinforced infantry platoons.
Nothing is called an infantry platoon in the entire game.
Well, then it says you can take a single reinforced infantry platoon or a tank platoon, so you can only take a tank platoon then.
I think while it's debatable, it's slightly semantics, because the two people who did respond to me, so Gary Betts, the TO, did, to say, no, we kind of meant it would be all the theatre selectors. The difficulty is that the wording implies that they mean generic. The implication of the wording is you can only use the generic infantry and generic tank, no theatre selectors. But that's not what it means. Or at least we think. Again, we haven't had official clarification from Warlord, although I would expect this to be blindingly obvious, that it will be any available theatre selector from any currently released book up to the time of... Does it specify it's Overlord, does it say? I can't remember.
Yes,
it goes up to Overlord, yeah. So we're looking to around June, I think, when that's coming out.
If it's just the generic infantry platoon, at 1250 you have massive problems with many forces that won't have extra selections, so they want to move what was regular at 750 and 1,000 up to vet to fill their points, because they've run out of selections within the selector.
Yeah. It's been clear that people have read that both ways. I think all of us here read it that, clearly they mean all theatre selectors. Why would they bother giving us a list otherwise? But unless English is your first language, and we know that there were people from Belgium who came over last year, it's not necessarily obvious the difference between generic and reinforced and all of the different terminology that's being used. They could have just been much more explicit about where you can and cannot take your things from.
I don't know why they didn't just say armies must consist of a single platoon of any kind. Then it's done. Then it's a single of any single choice. It's theatre, tank war, generic, your mum just made one up, everything. It's all fine.
Your mum might have made one up, mate.
My mum is like our best fan. She's bolt action through and through.
Was your ooh at the idea of doing a tank war platoon?
So, well, here's where I'm going to come in. Okay, so the reason they've limited to a single platoon person each is obviously because they're trying to limit people abusing multiple choices. They're trying to limit
Stalingrad.
They're trying to limit the sort of cunt who comes up with 5 dogmine teams and 4 snipers, and 4 medium howitzers. Those guys. The problem is sure, okay, limit it to a single platoon, but that does not solve the problem, because not every platoon is made equal. And unfortunately, and I've banged this drum a lot of times, there are the nations that have and the nations that don't have. We all know the ones that have: Japan, Soviets, the New Market Garden book. There's platoons in there where you can take your 2 tanks, you can take your 2 howitzers, your 4 snipers. Isn't there one which you can take 4 snipers in one of your platoons, Pete, in Japan?
Yeah. Pacific Defenders. You can take 4 snipers.
All that means is those players who with those access to those selectors are still going to take lists where it's all horrendous. I mean, I've been playing around with lists. I can still build Soviet lists with like 4 or 5 flamers in there. You know
I
what I mean?
I could build a Japanese list that, thanks to the Pacific Defenders selector in Papua New Guinea, you can have 9 15-man infantry militia squads in one platoon.
Meanwhile, Americans get jack shit.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Americans, if you take out Market Garden, Americans, Brits, if you take out once again Market Garden and India, they just get they get 1 anti-tank choice.
No.
And 1 vehicle.
You can't put Brits in there because they get completely stuffed by the 4 selectants, but they get so much free stuff they can just completely get away with it. Yeah. So you don't get to put Brits
only if you're
there.
Indian. And
it does completely stuff up the minor nations as well. You know, Belgium, Hungary, those minor nations are just getting stuffed by the entire lot.
So, you know, if I took a tank platoon of 5 Stuarts with machine gun spam, which is very doable in this, if I come up against a Polish list, what the fuck is he going to do? He's got 2 anti-tanks. He's got 1 anti-tank slot, which is going to be an anti-tank rifle, and then 1 tank slot, which is going to be something with a Ponzi light anti-AT gun. It's not even going to be worth a fight. The gap has been widened because now those armies can't take double platoons to mitigate the fact that they don't have the slots. So the lists at the top, which we're going to cheese, you know, Stalingrad list, Soviet players, they're still at the top. They're still doing better, and they're even better now because now the other people are even further far behind than they were last time. So this is not. It's not a solution.
Exactly. The other army that springs to mind as being able to do exactly that is Germans with Panzer Soup. The fact that there are so many different Panzers of so many different marks, it means you can just stuff them all together if you take a generic armoured platoon. It's like, I'll have my 2 Panzer IIs with the 8+ tanks with Lecky, and I'll have a Tiger in there as well. Why not? And you can just stick them all in a silly place, and nobody can deal with it.
It means if you don't have access to a stupid theatre selector or just a really good one, you need to take a tank platoon. It's the only way you're going to compete, which is just that's so bad for list variety. It's so bad for balance. It's so bad for the game.
I mean, there is a pretty simple fix. It's you can take a single generic one, a double generic platoon, a single tank platoon, or a single theatre selector, because it closes the gap between the haves and have-nots immediately.
With it written as it is now. With the exception of Pete, who playing Japanese and having useless tanks wouldn't take an armoured selector. Is anyone of us 3 actually considering a non-armoured selector for it?
I'm going to have to, because my Americans just will not do anything as a generic selector, and the 4 selectors allow me doubles of things like MMG teams, which are shit, and bazookas, which are almost as shit.
I mean, I was thinking...
I can take my Finns, but my Finns was it was a theatre selector which worked fine, but I'd already maxed out all the options I had. The only thing left to do is swap out one of the tanks and bring in a Russian KV-8 and make it veteran to fill the points to 1250. That's the only thing I can do.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I was thinking about taking my Germans, and I wasn't going to go armoured, but you know what? I was going to design a list specifically to be armoured, because that's what everyone else is going to do.
Panzer Destroyer Horde?
Well, something along those lines. Panzerfaust out the wazoo. Echoing what Pete said, why couldn't they just go, like so many tournaments do out there, you can either take 2 generic reinforced infantry platoons or a single tank platoon. Done.
Or a single...
or a single theatre select.
You know, it's the showcase event. Let's not take out their entire books.
It's all good for them to want to balance this stuff. It's all good that Warlords are taking an interest and they're trying to fix it. But A, they're just not thinking about it. And 2, if they're splitting the tournament up into the casuals and the competitive players, why don't they let the competitive players just have their cake? Because you're giving it a safe zone for the people who don't want to face that bullshit. You're tying the hands of the entire tournament for the benefit of only half of them.
Yeah, this is exactly what I said on Facebook.
Your side.
Yeah, I said this on Facebook. It's you want to take the gloves off, not put them on.
Yeah, it's I'm just scared that, and I'm going to defend ourselves here because I know what a lot of people will say, which is you don't have to take that stuff. You don't have to take the cheese. You don't have to if you don't want to. You'd be a better player if you took a weak list. Blah 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 blah. So you saying that it's available and then taking it makes you a hypocrite. But my answer to that is I don't want to do really well, come up to the top table and then lose to a list because they went that step further than I wouldn't. And that's the age of. That's why at a competitive event people will take the harder list, because they don't want to get caught out, and they expect everyone else to do the exact same thing. That's it. Whether you like that opinion or not, that's why it is that way, because no one wants to be caught with their pants down.
You heard it here first. Toph likes being caught with his pants down as long as he's got cake in his hands.
Pete, you know me so well, you sexy beast. Anyway, next line. No more than the set amount of points may be spent on the army.
Bingo, that's fine.
Which can
Duh.
No idea what that means, by the way.
I mean,
No more than, say, 750 points when you're playing that one. No more
unless
than
you're
750.
Western Desert Indians.
Oh,
That-
yeah, unless you get free stuff, in which
Yeah.
case have your free stuff.
But I don't know why they've had to put that in. It's not like someone's going to rock up with a 1,000-point list of 750-point game and go, "Oh, I didn't realise."
We're a bunch of cheesy power gamers, but even we don't go, "Oh, you didn't actually say I couldn't go over the points."
Yeah.
But British Indian lists do it anyway. They're at 950.
Yeah.
I've got a special hatred for that Western
I-
Desert. But
yeah,
don't worry.
yeah.
I've just had a thought. If you're playing a Soviet list, do you get to choose from game to game whether or not you can take your free infantry squad or the free inexperienced assault gun?
Oh, the free SU-76.
Yeah, which
doesn't
one?
tell
Can you
ya.
choose from game to game?
Technically,
you have to decide at
as Brits, could you keep swapping what national
National
rule you have?
characters.
Yeah, you could have at 750 for the Soviets. You could have a free tank.
Once again,
At 1,000,
as
you
long
don't
as
need
you-
the free
as
tank.
if-
You can have free dudes.
If subforce means models, hey, it's the same models.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, see, exactly.
Next bit, no special characters. Fair enough. The bit after that, dice caps. Now, dice caps is a touchy subject. 3 different dice caps, 1 for each level of points. If you're playing 750 points, no more than 15. If you're playing 1,000, no more than 18, and at 20, no more than 1250. What's your thoughts?
No. At
Other way
1250, no
around.
more than 20.
Did I get it wrong? Oh, I'm shit at maths. My bad, guys. Right,
To be
20
fair,
at 1250, 18 at 1,000, 15 at 750.
Yeah, the 15 at 750. Who the hell can get to 15 dice at 750?
I know.
Whoever does it, you don't have any
Me.
staying power on the board.
Soviets. Yeah.
Yeah, Soviets.
If I'm up
To be
against a
honest.
15 dice Soviet list, you know what? There's no staying power in any of those units. I can sneeze at them and they'll die.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, no. Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't like dice caps. I think we've talked about this before. I don't like dice caps because they tend not to solve the problem they're designed to solve. But these ones are at least high.
They're pretty
but-
reasonable, yeah. I mean, as a person who likes to take high dice lists, they're fine. I don't feel that they're
18
taking-
dice at
rely on
1,000 is about right.
Yeah, I mean, an average competitive list, you're looking at around 15 to 16 dice at 1,000 points, so that's fine. That's nothing.
How many dice was yours for the GT last year, Toph?
23 at 1,000
23.
points.
But of those, how many of them were either horse toes or transports or just, an inexperienced officer on his own? Probably, 25-30% of the dice?
Okay, so 2 officers and a commissar, that's 3 dice, which are shit. 2 horses, that's another 2 dice. A jeep, that's another dice. That's 6 off the top of my head. Strathback barely count, that puts me up to 8 dice.
Exactly.
Of just useless shit, which I'm very happy to drop from my
So-
list. So it's not really.
So
too
armies with a lot
shit.
of weak shit need the extra dice to help balance them out. Because if they take the weak shit and they're at 15 dice, you're going to get pounded by a decent army that's at 15 dice.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've had this conversation. Let's not repeat it.
To be fair, I'm happy enough that the dice caps are high enough to make sense for. You can still put an inexperienced horde down at some of the points levels. It makes sense.
Yeah, they're not too punitive. If they were talking about 12 for 1,000 points and 15 dice for 1250, I'd be kicking and screaming.
I'd have a problem.
They're pretty loose. That's fine. Do they do anything? Probably not. But there you go.
As a German player, I've never come anywhere even close to those dice limits.
That's because Germans get all the toys, and why would you not take the
So
toys?
here's another bit. So do you remember the last year we had a big part of this when we did our GT review, where they said how this is a competitive tournament. This is all about winning and finding the best Baltician player in the world. But by the way, here's a FEMI list you have to do. FEMI rules to build your list. Not that you have to, but if you'd like to. They've copied and pasted that exact same paragraph here, despite getting so much flack from it. They've decided to put it back in.
Can I say as well, this part for the can you please choose your army to be semi-themed sort of thing is bigger than the 4 selection guidelines. So they care
it's
more
like
about
double the
choosing the
price.
army that's most likely to be in a film and most likely to be real than actually giving guidelines on how you should build your list and the rules you should stick to.
So here's what I really don't understand. If they're going to split the team up, if they're going to split the tournament up, why are they forcing the same rules on both sides? Now, this army composition bit is perfect for the people on the casual side. Yeah, it's great. You know exactly. You basically know what they want. You're making nice lists. You're going to go and have a fun weekend away. If you're going to go to the tournament and try and absolutely, be the honourable warlord leader and just go and absolutely smash face and win some trophies, it's a little bit redundant. What's it there for? We know it didn't work last time because my Stalingrad list was perfectly themed, hated by everyone. So why is it back?
Yeah, my Finns were themed as well. A theatre selector, single platoon.
I mean,
I don't understand why it's there. I mean, if you want to do the army composition thing, make it mandatory to take a theatre selector and put it for just the open play. Those guys are there clearly just to have a good time and play the more historical and fun side of the game. Try and enforce it on that, but don't make us do that as well.
It's a GT. You don't use language like "if you like" or "if you don't mind" or "wouldn't it be nice if you'd do this" in a GT, because people will say no.
Yeah, literally the second paragraph. We'd really encourage players, but that doesn't mean anything.
Please don't walk on the grass. Run on the grass.
Please, Russia, don't take drugs when you're going to the Olympics. Please try not to roid out over everyone. Please.
Hey, China, maybe you shouldn't censor your internet.
You know what, right? Here's some freaking real world advice. This is the sort of shit Theresa May would play. Please, Mr. EU, can I have my deal? Fuck off. It doesn't work. Fuck off.
The nice thing is, you can keep it, if you're not, that way inclined to actually look at what's going on, you can go, this year, this area, sorted.
Yeah. Luckily, we've got experience of how to do it now, so it's not as confusing as it was last time. But
well, I'll just say, because they've limited me on doing things to the single selector, and I'm probably going to have to take Americans, the army composition bit for choosing a theme force can fuck right off.
Let me guess, it's all Fallschirmjäger veterans and inexperienced fluff units with artillery?
That would be really hard with Americans.
Yeah, that's not very American, is it?
Oh yeah, sorry, Americans. You can cut this bit out.
There's American Fallschirmjäger.
It's the lesser-known Einsatz Fallschirmjäger.
Anyway, so next bit says armies to be drawn from following books. Nothing
out of the ordinary.
Other than saying bolt action career may not be used, not even out yet.
That's fair, because it's around World War II they're trying to aim for, and Korea's a bit after.
Yeah, which is fair. Going on, Lutz submission of army this 4th of November. Once again, that's fine. Your army composition cannot change during the tournament. No fucking shit. And once again, it says your forces for the 750 point and the 1,000 point battles must be drawn from your 1,250 point army. What does that mean?
Yeah. Also, it recommends bolt action easy army, where I can pick holes in easy armies, stuff on easy army, no problem. It'll go, yes, you can do this, and you look at the rulebooks for it, and you can't.
Yeah.
It's although beware, not all entries are covered. How about beware? Sometimes it's wrong.
Yeah. We've done this rant already, haven't we? The people who trust easy army too much in tournament prep, because I moaned about it then. Because sometimes it tells you units have special abilities or access to equipment that they absolutely do not have.
Yeah.
Then it goes on to mission definitions, which is the same. It's same it was last time. They've adjusted point defense as they did last time. The scoring system is the same as last time. So there's nothing to say there.
Except for point defense like this is broken because it's far too easy to win as the attacker.
Yeah. So just to recap, they say the attacker needs to pick one objective, and then it'll count as a win if they manage to pick that one objective out of 3, which obviously the enemy doesn't know which objective you're going for, so you just pick one and throw your entire army at it. He has to spread his army out to try and defend all 3, which means you have a third of an army defending against an entire army, and it's just a cakewalk.
Yeah.
So, but, it's what they're going with, so there we go. It looks, once again,
play to it.
looks again like there might be the silly missions like Manhunt in there.
Fucking awful.
They also mentioned secondary objective. I really hope they don't just put a random model on there and they actually put like a counter saying this is a secondary objective. Well,
Dear
some,
Warlord.
some people assumed that it was just top secret because there was a random model there. It needs to say secondary at some point, or be obvious it's a secondary objective.
Dear Warlord, when you produce V3, please give us a sectors mission.
Sectors is amazing. What are you on about?
I'm saying that's what they should all be like.
Right. So the next section, gaming groups. This is actually quite interesting. Shall I read it out verbatim?
Go for it.
Verbatim. Okay. Gaming groups. The intention of the gaming groups is to ensure the more competitive players get a good competitive game, despite all of the rules that they're making it's not competitive. Oh, never mind, anyway. And an opportunity to win through to be bolt action world champion.
Dun, dun, dun.
Open play is the group for players seeking 2 days of bolt action game without the cut and thrust of the more competitive players. Only players in the competitive group can win through to be bolt action world champion. And that says how you're going to have first, second, third prize of big trophies for the competitive people, and first, second, third prize for mini players for the open players. And then they'll have combined prizes for things like best painted, best themed, sportsman, best team, hey Juggernauts, weird and wacky, foo bars, that kind of thing. So it's saying right there what we wanted it to say all along. You got your arseholes can go over the left, and your nice people can go on the right, and the two shall never have to meet if they don't want to. So why
Captain
the fuck are they
Arsehole
then?
in the left, please.
So why are they fucking about with what the arseholes can do?
Toph, sorry, if you haven't guessed it, listeners, Toph's on a right rage right now. He'll calm down maybe in about 4 days.
You know what? It's because we care. You know what? If we didn't absolutely love Bosch, if we didn't absolutely love this game, you'd go, alright, fuck it, whatever. You'd either go, yeah, fine, and then turn up, or go, oh, I can't be bothered, I don't want to go, and then cancel your ticket. It's because, dude, of course we love Bosch, and we run a fucking Bosch podcast. It's not just us whinging for the sake of it to get some extra likes and some extra hits. No, it's because we actually care, and we want this GT to be what the GT wants to be itself, which is, the prime tournament in a year. And it's just not going that way, is it?
No. Are you angry as well because you can take almost exactly the same list as last year, so you might get called to develop bolt action again?
So here's another thing. As we said, we've been messing about on our WhatsApp chats. As you do while you should be working. We've been sitting there, talking shit, and people said, "Oh well, people in the Facebook group said, Topher can't bring that same list." Fucking well can. I've made it. I can make that same list.
Yes, one less sniper, isn't it? That's basically
one less sniper, one less Katusha. And don't worry, I added more flamethrowers instead. You know what I mean? It's not doing what they wanted to do. If they want to,
and I can bring a more horrendous list that still fits in there.
Yeah, and this plateaus nicely to what Warlords say, where apparently this pack was built from an awful lot of feedback from the bolt action players for the last GT. That's from Warlords' mouth themselves. They said, we've spoken to people, we've got some feedback, we've made this pack, and all I want to say is that's blatantly not true.
Yeah,
at least it's not 100% true.
Can I translate that for you? Dear fans of bolt action, we only listened to the whingiest, moaniest snowflakes, and we pandered to their every whim.
Oh, that's not what I was saying.
Just
it absolutely was.
Jeffrey's opinions are not the same as the other hosts on this podcast.
All I'm gonna say, and this is my one.
Thank you, Dan.
This is my one little special snowflake comment. Me and Pete specifically spoke to Simon, who's the Warlord head of events or community outreach at Warlord last time. We spoke to him, we had good handshake, good time, and he has our contact details. He says, he actually asked us, can we talk to you? About getting the pack from. We was like, yeah, we'll help. We'll give you any tips. We'll tell you everything. And we didn't get one contact, not one email. So
I got contact about what's the feedback, and I gave them the feedback. Basically gathered it up from our group and went, here's the feedback.
It's definitely not seemed to have been presented to. I mean, it's all good that there was a lot of people unhappy with the GT. I completely understand. I completely agree with a lot of their complaints. So they've gone, right, let's sort it all out. But I think competitive players also go to the GT for a reason. And it seems that this pack has almost gone, well, screw those guys. Which, fair enough.
All they had to do, really, is last year's GT pack, copy and paste that with a couple of amendments for this year's for the left-hand the left-hand group that want to do the power gaming like we do.
Yeah, the knobheads like you, got you.
Yeah, the knobheads like me. And then the pack that they've got now that they've given out to everyone, brilliant. Keep that for the right side for the ones that want to just do the fun gaming. Just have 2 separate packs. It's not hard. You already had the one from last year written. Just copy, paste, and change the fucking date.
I think it just shows that like Warlord, they don't have a fundamental understanding of how their own game works. I think that's what comes down to it. They sell the models, they commission the guys to write the books, and it's all great. But when it comes down to how do we make sure this game is balanced for everyone to have fun, they just don't get it. I'm not saying we do. I'm not saying that, us as Juggernauts will tell you exactly how this game should be run. That's not the case at all. However, you can definitely tell there's a bias in this pack towards a certain angle of gamer, which is, fair enough, they're just as important. I just don't think it's going to work out.
No.
I mean, I think they'll get the attendance because it's the big event of the year for Warlord.
Oh god, yeah, they'll get the attention.
But I also think that they'll get the some of the same whinges as last year, and they'll be wondering how the hell do we get that away.
Yeah.
But,
I agree with Pete. As I said at the beginning, I think what they've done is sort of solved one problem, but created exactly the same problem again by different means.
But I think it's a little of they'll release this pack now and bury their head in the sand. So exactly like they've done with a few of the campaign books, they've released it. The internet has got their hands on it, had a look through it. The shit's hit the fan, and Warlord just buried their head in the sand.
I mean, it's not like there are people out there in the community who know this game. And they know how to run events in this game because they're doing it. Look at the way Steve has the iron fist over his own tournament for Cambridge. He goes, "Here's how I beat the game. Here's how I'm going to balance it, and here's how I'm doing it." And you go, "You know what? I'm going to hands off to you, mate. You're doing it. You're doing a good job."
and we appreciate that Steve has got an iron fist with that because we can email him going, "Can I do this?" And he'll go, "No. Here's why." And it's
some of it we may not agree with, but you can't argue with it because the rules are set out so clearly.
You know where
exactly.
you stand.
He's consistent. So actually, my list, the lists that I wanted to play for Cambridge in a couple of weeks, have been hit with the hammer by Steve. But he's done that to all of them. It's not me; it's the list, and I'm quite happy with that.
And there's plenty, there's plenty of time. Gaz has run some good tournaments at Imps. There's some, the guys who run the Welsh Open, the guys who run Rumble. There's so many good TOs out there who know what they're doing, and know how to sort this.
I mean, Gary is one of the good TOs. It's just he's very clear with what he wants. It's just that his hands are slightly tied with the GT event.
Yeah.
And it's very strange coming from last year when they was very much nope, we can't stop anything because we don't want to say that bolt action's unbalanced. This is our game. We're going to present it as it is out of the book. And this year they've gone completely the opposite way and gone so far up themselves that it's now just like, if you win this tournament, do you win at bolt action? Because I don't think that's bolt action the way I'd see it. Are we going too far?
I'm waiting for the small print in the pack that says "Dear Topher, screw you."
He's the one that doesn't screw.
Raise your hand if you feel personally victimised by Warlord games.
Just you, Toph? Just you? Okay.
No, I'm very aware. Don't want to come across as just me whinging. It's as just going, "Oh, there's a minute." I'm going to go anyway. I'm going to build a list anyway. It probably won't be a Stalingrad list anyway, and I probably will have fun anyway.
You're only going anyway because you won a free ticket. Would you be paying for a ticket to go?
I would. I would go. I just love the game, and I don't want this to be the way it goes on, and this to become the established form. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for keeping a little bit of historical relevancy in there, but if you go too far, then you go, well, it's this year, I've got this army, so I lose because it's this year with this army.
It's once again Warlord trying to patch the problems with their game rather than go and tackle the real problems. The two biggest problems with bolt action, the points are off. Everyone knows the points are off. The points are ridiculous. The points don't make no sense when a Tiger's 500 odd points or whatever, and a Steel's 140. Whatever. Another thing, the theatre select. But rather than actually Warlord going back to the start and saying, right, let's fix the army selection rules and let's fix the points, patch after patch after patch after patch.
They're doing what George Lucas did to Star Wars. I'll just chuck more CG in it gradually. Director's cut, extended direction cut. No, they're terrible movies. Just do them again.
I've just had
mention midichlorians.
I've just had a sudden vision of that episode of South Park with George Lucas.
Where they're raping Indiana Jones.
Oh, God, no, bolt action, what are you doing? No.
I tell you what, the Aufklärungsgruppe are the midichlorians of bolt action.
Oh, you mean the recon vehicles?
Yes, I do mean those recon vehicles.
What even is that rule?
Look, I love V1 bolt action. I absolutely adore V2 bolt action. You know, if you take the points and the first sets of problems out, I'm
If
really.
you know the fundamental game mechanics.
Yeah. No, that's not the fundamental.
Get rid of
thing.
the order dice as well while you get it.
I can't wait for V3. I just hope that this isn't a trend of things to come. And with that, I'm stopped playing whinging. I promise.
He won't stop whinging, but he'll stop whinging to listeners. So you know.
Well, I mean, the reason we did this cast as like an emergency cast was because we knew if we both waited until next episode, it would take up the entire episode. So why not have the ranting angry gamers? Why don't we have the rag as its own cast? Just the RAGCast.
Well, just as it's when it's needed. Because had we done this on a normal episode, it would have been probably 4 hours long and half the episode.
Certainly cathartic, isn't it?
I feel better now.
It's like that dump you have after a long walk.
I don't know what it is. I don't walk.
Are you saying, Sheffy, that you're full of shit?
I don't know. Have you gone for a walk today, mate?
To be honest, I got most of my rage out in incredibly passive-aggressive Facebook commenting. So I'm a little bit more sedate than you, so.
I really hope nobody takes your passive aggressiveness personally, because you don't mean it.
I like the silence there. Like, does
Yeah,
he mean
well,
it? No, he does obviously mean it. He's just a cunt. It's fine. There's a reason to Piers Morgan on bolt action. It's fine. Anyway, any closing points?
Well, you know, let's end on a positive note. Cambridge is soon.
Got next episode will be out in about 2 weeks, won't it?
Yeah.
What we got to cover? We're doing some bring out your filth for Cambridge. We won't be doing ranting angry gamers because we've just done that now. We'll fill something in.
The bring out your filth isn't as filthy as it will be. It's all within the tournament pack for Cambridge.
We can do some bring out your listener filth with that army we buffed for that guy who sent us a message.
Ooh,
Yep.
Yeah, we got some good listener feedback as usual.
Monsieur Blobby's Hobby Lobby. I'm
We'll see.
halfway through my pledge, so.
Yeah, cool. Good times. Right.
It's the deadline for Cambridge tomorrow. Have we all submitted?
Yep.
I'm going to do that now.
I've submitted my list. I've had to submit a revision to it because I don't have that many riflemen. So I really hope that gets picked up, and I will probably check it in with Steve on the Saturday to make sure he knows which one to pick up.
That sounds awfully organised of you, Pete, but you won't bring the right models at the day anyway, so who cares?
Oh, screw you. I brought the right models.
On list. I'm going to try and outperform Pete at a tournament for the third year in a row.
Alright, let's save the...
Doesn't count if you only go to one a year.
Hey, fuck off, guys. I'm trying to close this podcast. I want to get back in my pants and start playing Pokemon again. I've got a freaking Garchomp to train, dickheads.
I think we just lost some cool points, by the way, with that.
What? For a start, I didn't have them in the first place, so fuck off. And secondly, are you trying to deny the coolness of a Garchomp?
I have no idea what you just said to me. You may as well just speak Japanese.
Pete, back me up on this shit.
I'm not backing you up on a Bolt Action podcast.
Good lad.
Just because I'm going to be the very best that you definitely will never be.
Alright, Devil.
Right, fuck off. See you guys later.